Good morning, everyone. Good morning. The story of Ruth and Naomi is a beautiful picture of the way that the relationship of the church to Israel could be. The way that the relationship of the church to Israel should be. And as we look at the story, we're going to look at why God desires that Gentile Christians, that's for most of us, almost all of us, that's you and me, okay? Gail, who read the lesson, is a Jewish Christian, Jewish believer in Jesus. But for all the Gentile Christians, I believe God is calling us to become like Ruth to Naomi. That we would have that same unconditional love, that same devotion for Israel that Ruth had for Naomi. And in this message, I acknowledge my debt to Jack Hayes. Now, that sentiment, that picture of Ruth clinging to Naomi is often preached as a picture of the love that the follower of Christ should have for his Messiah. And that is true. That's an awesome picture of how we should love Jesus. But this morning, what I want to focus on is how this is an awesome picture also of how the church, the Gentile church, should love the Jewish people and should love Israel. Because we, the Gentile church, remember, as the Apostle Paul taught us, we are not the root. We have been grafted into the root that is God's original chosen people, the Jews, the people of Israel. Every Christian should make the Jews a priority in our value system because God has made the Jews a priority in His value system. You see, you remember in our gospel lesson for today, Jesus is talking to the Samaritan woman, and He tells her that salvation is from the Jews. And yet, it's like we have amnesia. We seem to have forgotten that God still has a plan, still has a purpose for the Jewish people and for the land of Israel. And those two are inextricably linked in the Scriptures. Now, I do agree that the church is a type of Israel. And indeed, we are spiritual Israel. And that God has indeed chosen the church to be His people. But listen to me carefully now. God has never rescinded the promises that He made to the Jewish people. It's not in the Scriptures. He hasn't rescinded His promises to them for the land of Israel, nor His covenant promises to them to be the people of Israel. Now, the Jewish people and the land of Israel are inextricably linked in the Holy Scriptures. When we talk about Israel, we're dealing with two things. We're dealing with a piece of property that God has made pronouncements about, and we're dealing with a people with whom He has made covenant. It's a major issue. The issue of Israel and the treatment of Jewish people is a major issue for the Creator of the universe. It's non-negotiable. Let's just take a look at the book of Joel. Here's a couple of scriptures. All right? 3 times in the book of Joel, the promised land is referred to as belonging to the Lord. The prophet says, "For a nation has come up against my land." My land. It belongs to the Lord. He has set it aside for His people. And the Lord will be zealous for His land. There are many places in the Scriptures, promises that have not been rescinded in the New Testament, where God's promise to the Jews, the promised land, has not been taken away. And so, friends, you and I have a central role to play in God's economy for the church and for the Jews. Okay? But it's going to take more than interfaith prayer meetings. It's going to take more than sending money to some organizations in the Middle East. It's going to take more than preaching the gospel to your Jewish friends. It's going to take prayer. But I want to encourage you. Search your heart for What's your heart attitude to the Jewish people? What's your heart attitude to the nation of Israel? God, to give you His love for the Jewish people.